everyone, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another episode of People's Path to Progress Webinar Series 2030. My name is Alishba Tayyab and I'm the founder and CEO of GHRS, and today I'm going to be your host and moderator. So at People, we believe in empowering, inspiring, and educating HR professionals across the globe. And for that, today we have a very interesting topic. We're going to talk about cultural integrations and compliance, onboarding practices in the oil and gas sector, in Riyadh as well as worldwide, different practices that are happening in the onboarding, and how HR professionals can actually improve those practices and how they can help in compliance as well. So let's move towards our guests. First, we have a very amazing guest joining us from Riyadh. He's a seasoned professional with human resource safety, environment and quality, HSSEQ, and he's bringing a holistic approach to organizational excellence. He's currently working as HSSEQ Director at Sama Construction in Riyadh. And then at People Head Office, we have Obaid Ashraf with us. He's a very seasoned HR professional with over a decade of experience in HR and organizational leadership. And he's currently serving as the Regional Consultancy Head of HR at People.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for both of you for joining and taking the time out.
Thank you.
And so let's move towards our topic now. So Eamonn, I want to start the conversation with you. What do you think are the most important cultural integration factors that are often overlooked when we are onboarding the resources in an organization?
Yeah, I guess firstly, thank you very much for inviting me on this panel today and the contribution to this webinar. I guess for me, as an expat arriving in Saudi, and when I came here to the Middle East region as a whole, I wasn't fully prepared for the culture that this part of the world brings. I faced language barriers, social norms, daily customs. You had a modified working week, which was Sunday to Thursday, which was something that I wasn't really accustomed to. You had your prayer times, your Ramadan observances as well, which basically could interfere with day-to-day activities and meetings and so forth. So it took a little bit of time to adapt. I guess one of the things as well, coming from Western Europe, I wasn't accustomed to, the lack of a good Samaritan law, which was something that, coming from Ireland, if we see somebody in trouble or needs particular aid, we would be the first to jump in and basically help them out. So there was these kind of unspoken rules, which I didn't get a full insight into during the kind of pre-boarding, I would say also, as well as the onboarding. And, there was a lack of appreciation into how things were done in this part of the world. What behaviors were rewarded, what behaviors were frowned upon also as well. So, if you don't, facilitate a kind of a robust pre-boarding and onboarding process, you can feel like an outsider. And I certainly did feel like an outsider when I came to this part of the world. And it is unintentional. I guess, I've worked in different positions in this part of the world also as well. And as a leadership position now that I hold, there are different cultural leadership styles, which take some time to get accustomed to. I always feel, or based on my experience, the locals here have a more laid back approach, more relaxed approach, more reactive as such. Whereas I'm very much accustomed to being proactive and very much, getting the job done and doing whatever needs to be done. So I think bridging those cultural leadership styles and expectations is a crucial part that is overseen also as well, depending on the role that has been hired. Effective communication, it goes without saying, obviously, language barriers and so forth, and providing that information in a language that's understood and appreciated by the new employee or by the candidate also as well, because that first point of contact that you do have with an organization, that is basically the first impression that I would get from the organization. So yes. I think having that well-structured pre-boarding and onboarding process in place, and just making you feel supported also, and making you feel welcome within the organization. I think there are certain things that are definitely overlooked and maybe assumed by the employing organization. So, for example, one of the things that I did receive here when I came to Saudi, even that welcome on board email. I haven't received it in all companies that I work with in this part of the world, but even that gave me a sense of belonging, a sense of welcome, a sense of respect, and also having a kind of a welcome pack also as well, which was good.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Whenever you are joining a new company, you feel like, okay, that's a new family, and I don't know anything about them at this point. And that first, even just an email, that onboarding email can make a lot of difference in your onboarding experience. I think that was a wonderful example.
Yeah.
So coming to you, Obaid, what do you think we can do as HR professionals to streamline this process from day one, to have that cultural integration for the new hires in the organization?
All right. Okay. First of all, Eamonn really explained things in quite a good elaboration. Building upon that, what I see is that the employee onboarding actually does not start from day one. It starts actually from pre-onboarding, if you allow me to say that, because pre-onboarding is the first point of contact that the employee, or they're not an employee yet, they are a candidate yet. So that's the first point of contact they have with the organization, and that's where their whole understanding of the company that they're about to join, that starts building up. So, starting from that, just like the welcome email that Eamonn mentioned, it has to go before onboarding, of course. There should be a proper explanation. There should probably be a good introduction of the company, maybe in a video format, because that always helps, and that's really easy to, to browse through, to go through. And then there should be some kind of an introduction, some kind of communication of expectations on what they are about to experience when they, actually do come to join. So from day one of the onboarding, what happens is that I believe the newcoming employee should be welcomed by senior management, and they should feel welcomed. They should feel that they have been given this kind of importance. They should be introduced with the team, and in that welcome email that we talked about, there could also be a certain person assigned to them at the time of their onboarding, so that they could assimilate into the culture of the organization, and they could easily have this sense of belonging once they are onboarded. So that person should also be part of their orientation program. They should, it's kind of a hand holding, because just like you and Alishba said, that it's basically joining a new family. It's coming into an entirely new workplace. So you need that kind of assurance that you will find yourself adjusting there. So to create that sense of belonging, one should always have kind of a buddy there that they can always go up to, and they can ask, and they can discuss any problems that they might be having. So this buddy of theirs would be a kind of a role model that actually represents the whole organization when it comes to culture, and they should be, they should be someone that that the organization can proudly present forward, saying that this is their role model when it comes to culture and their values and their organizational, workspace culture. So after that, their day one has to, have all the introductions that they require to carry out their job specifications. In the week one, that's where it becomes a bit tricky, because on the first day everyone feels quite special. So when the week one starts, they should have they should have proper team meetings where team could sit down and discuss. One way of communicating culture to a newcomer is always is to share success stories of the company. It shows what is being valued in this organization. It clearly explains to the newcomer that what this organization values, what does it consider as their success. So, in some kind of an informal settings, they should have this kind of discussion where the newcomer could easily understand what this organization believes the success to be. What kind of values do I need to bring in to properly integrate myself into this culture. And after that, there should always be an HR check-in. HR should always check in at the end of week one. They should check in if things are in order, if the new employee has been assimilated properly, if they if they are comfortable there, or if they have any kind of issues. And then in the coming month, you just keep building upon that first introductory week. You bring them to further cultural assimilating activities. You bring them into different kinds of cultural gatherings that the company has, and they should be one other good thing would be if they could be highlighted for something that they really did that was valued by the company. If something that they have done, it shows that they really understood the values of the company, it should be publicly highlighted, it should be appreciated. That's where you start building upon the culture. And then going forward, during their probation, which is usually 90 days, so the first 60 to 90 days, what happens is that they are continuously, all these values and culture is continuously reinforced to them, and they are guided on any kind of matters that they require guidance. And they actually are trained to, every new joiner has to be trained to become a buddy for some other new joiner in the future. So keeping that philosophy at the as the base of this whole orientation, whole onboarding experience, that's how you make sure that you always have people who actually represent your culture. So the coming full cycle, what you do is that at the end of 90 days, there are surveys going on during all this period. At the end of 90 days, when the organization feels that the new employee has caught up on the culture properly, they could be given the chance to be a buddy for another newcomer, and then the cycle just keeps on going itself, and it keeps on evolving, and it keeps on improving.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that was very good approach, and a lot of HR professionals can actually learn that what are the different steps they need to take. And I don't think that it requires a lot of work, right? It's just like one time, if you have set this process up, you can just repeat it with the employees,
Right.
And it can really create a difference. So I'm coming back to you. You have such a diverse experience with so many different industries. What are different examples, like what are different good onboarding practices that you have experienced that have really helped with the outcomes in compliance and safety? Any details, any previous experiences that you have gone through so far?
Yeah, so back in 2013, I was working in South Korea in the Samsung shipyard on Goji Island. And, this is a huge shipyard, one of the biggest in the world. They basically construct drilling rigs, cargo vessels and tankers. Currently there's about 11,000 employees there at the moment. There would have been a lot more back in 2013. There was a bit of a boom within the oil and gas industry. I was working in the oil and gas industry at the time, and we were constructing drill ships. So there was one specific project in this shipyard at the time. It was a vessel that was being constructed for Shell. It was called the Shell Prelude. So basically this is a vessel that's used for liquefied natural gas, does processing and offloading onto tankers and so forth. It's the largest one in the world, actually. So at the peak time, there was about 5,000 employees working on this particular vessel itself. They were from America, they were from Australia, they were from Asia and Europe also as well. So you can imagine that with that diversity, it posed many challenges in communication, cultural interpretation to safety practices, and consistency with safety protocols, because different cultures have a different appreciation as to what is an acceptable risk or a not safe behavior, and what it means to them, So one of the things that they actually did in collaboration with the shipyard and the other drilling contractors, and this is where we actually came into it also as well, the shipyard and the contractors all worked together, and we did some workshops and some brainstorming exercises, and we basically developed cultural induction modules, which were developed and they were delivered to all the employees in different languages. We also, identified real life examples where cultural misunderstanding basically had led to HSE incidents in the past. There was the introduction of a BBS, which is a behavioral based safety program. And we trained up all personnel in that as well, which was multilingual, and basically give people an opportunity to report any kind of unsafe incidents, accidents and so forth. So it was all part of that training, and you know, something that is now incorporated into the onboarding process at that shipyard.
Absolutely.
Agree.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my final question to you, Obaid, and with your closing remarks, of course, because we are talking about different initiatives. So what do you think would be some matrices to actually measure this compliance when it comes to or onboarding or overall or other functions of HR as well?
Right. Well, first of all, Eamonn really explained everything already. I do understand he already explained some of the metrics.
Yeah.
And that was a wonderful example of how, you know, they improve their systems. The example that you shared from the shipyard and the, so, you know, the matrices when it comes to, you know, to safety, particularly to an industry like the industry that Eamonn is coming from right now, and the example that he has given. So what we need to do is that we need to establish criteria where we can judge exactly how well our onboarding and how well our, you know, our new resource assimilation is going. And for that, you know, all these industries like oil and gas, what they primarily need is they are heavily regulated, and they have you know, a lot of compliances to you know, to fulfill. So what we need primarily is to have a measure where we could decide that they have been satisfactorily informed and they have been trained. So one of the things would be this is a suggestion, and I'm hoping that it already is like that. So there is a basic training that goes with every new joiner that comes in an industry like oil and gas. So there could be a training assessment at the end of that training, and the percentage of people, you know, actually passing that training in the first go, that is, you know, where our matrices should primarily start. Because that is the first, you know, the solid safety and, you know, compliance kind of metrics that we have. And, you know, we also need to make sure that they have understood all that. So, you know, there's an assessment test at the end of it. And based on the results of that test, we can come up with a percentage that shows us how many new joiners have actually and actively passed. And moving on, then we have the, you know, the safety concerns, safety and compliance, other compliance concerns. So what we do is that we have to make sure that their time to let's say safety readiness, time to, you know, time from their joining the organization to actually be approved and endorsed, and to let them be in the field, to let them actually do the hands-on work. So that time also is a very good measure when it comes to you know, safety metrics. And based on that time, we can see that how soon a new resource is being prepared to be ready to be deployed in the field with all the safety readiness that we require of them.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Obaid, for your insight. And I always tell my students the same thing, that being an HR professional, you have to be a human rights activist as well, because you are a bridge between your employer and the employees. You need to hear both sides, and you need to be very empathetic, and I really agree with Eamonn as well. Thank you so much for your time to both our guests, and we'll see you in the next episode. Stay tuned with us.